You pay $3,000–$4,000 for a dog that's supposed to be the perfect package. Smart like a poodle, friendly like a golden, doesn't shed, great with kids, easy to train. That's what the breeder's website says. That's what your coworker told you. That's what every Instagram account with a curly-haired puppy in a bandana is selling you. And look, some doodles turn out great. I'm not going to sit here and pretend every single one is a disaster. But the gap between what people expect and what they actually get, it's honestly kind of staggering. Because here's what nobody mentions at the puppy deposit stage. You're crossing two breeds, two very different breeds. And when you do that, you don't get a curated highlight reel of both parents. You get a genetic coin flip. Maybe your Goldendoodle gets the poodle brain and the golden temperament. Great, congrats. But maybe it gets the poodle's neurotic streak and the golden's stubbornness. Maybe it sheds. Maybe it sheds a lot. Maybe it's 60 pounds heavier than you planned for because the breeder wasn't exactly rigorous about their lines. The thing people don't understand about crossbreeding is that consistency goes out the window. A well-bred golden retriever is predictable. Temperament, size, coat type, you kind of know what you're getting. With Doodles, two puppies from the same litter can be completely different dogs. Different coats, different energy levels, different everything. And that wouldn't be a problem if people went in with their eyes open, but they don't. They go in with a Pinterest board and a deposit receipt, and then 6 months later they're Googling, "Why is my Doodle so anxious?" Okay, so the hypoallergenic thing. This is the big one. This is probably responsible for more Doodle purchases than any other single claim. And it's basically not true. Not the way people think it's true. No dog is hypoallergenic. Zero. The American Kennel Club says it. Every allergist says it. The research is pretty clear on this. What some dogs are is low shedding. Poodles, for example, they shed less, which means less dander floating around your house, which means fewer allergic reactions for some people. Not no reactions, fewer. But here's where it gets messy. A Doodle is half poodle, sometimes less than half if the breeding's been sloppy. So you're banking on that poodle coat gene being dominant, and it might be, or it might not. You literally don't know until the puppy grows up. Some Doodles get that tight, curly, low-shedding coat. Some get a wavy coat that sheds like crazy. Some get, and this is the worst-case scenario, a coat that looks curly on the outside but has a dense, shedding undercoat underneath, the kind that mats up like felt if you don't brush it every single day. So people are paying thousands of dollars, specifically because they have allergies, for a dog that has maybe a 50-50 shot of actually helping with those allergies. And nobody tells them that up front. The breeder doesn't, the website doesn't, the Facebook group with 40,000 members and a picture of a smiling Labradoodle as the banner, they definitely don't. I don't know, maybe I'm being harsh, but spending that kind of money on a promise that's essentially a coin toss, that bugs me. $600 a year? That's the low end of what Doodle owners spend on grooming. Some people are closer to $1,200, and that's if you're going to a decent groomer every 6 to 8 weeks, which, if you have a Doodle, you kind of have to, because that coat, the one that looked so cute in the breeder photos, it mats. God, does it mat. We're not talking about a few tangles behind the ears. We're talking full, tight, skin-level matting that pulls every time the dog moves. It's painful, genuinely painful, and it happens fast. Like, miss one brushing session and you're already behind. Most Doodle owners don't know this going in. They think grooming means a bath and a trim every couple months. What it actually means is 30 to 40 minutes of brushing minimum, several times a week, with the right tools, down to the skin, not just the surface fluff. And if you're not doing that,
your groomer's gonna have to shave the dog down, which, by the way, a lot of Doodle owners hate. They didn't pay $4,000 for a dog that looks like a shorn lamb 6 times a year. But here's the part that actually bothers me.
When a matted Doodle shows up at the groomer, it's not a cosmetic issue. Those mats trap moisture, restrict blood flow, cause skin infections. I've read accounts from groomers who, honestly, some of the stuff they describe is rough. Dogs in pain for weeks because their owner thought brushing once a week was enough. And the dog can't tell you. That's the thing. The dog just lives in it.
Wally Conran, that's the guy. He's the one who started all of this. Back in the late 80s, working for the Royal Guide Dogs Association in Australia. And he didn't do it on a whim. He had a real problem to solve. A blind woman in Hawaii needed a guide dog, but her husband was severely allergic. So Conran crossed a standard poodle with a Labrador retriever. Took him 3 years and 33 attempts to get it right. 3 litters. 1 puppy out of the entire batch had the right coat and the right temperament. 1 out of 33. And here's what happened next. Nobody wanted the other puppies. He couldn't place them. Guide dog families didn't want crossbreeds, they wanted purebreds.
So Conran, kind of out of desperation, told the PR department to call them Labradoodles. And the second that name hit the press, it exploded. But Conran himself, he's gone on record multiple times, calling it his life's regret. Not the cross itself, the cross worked. The problem is what came after. Once people heard Labradoodle, every backyard breeder on the planet saw dollar signs.
No health testing, no temperament screening, no standards. Just breed anything curly with anything friendly and slap a doodle on the end of it. He literally called it a Frankenstein moment, said he opened Pandora's box and unleashed, I think his exact words were, a lot of unhealthy dogs. And the man's not wrong. Because what most people don't realize is that the doodle sitting on their couch right now, it probably came from a breeding program with 0 oversight, 0 accountability, and a whole lot of problems hiding under that cute curly coat.
Six to 8 weeks. That's how often a doodle needs professional grooming. Not a bath, actual grooming. We're talking a full brush out, detangling, clipping, sanitary trim, the whole thing. And if you skip it, if you let it slide even a little, you get matting. And matting on a doodle isn't like a couple of knots you can work out with a comb. It's dense, felt-like clumps that pull on the skin, trap moisture, and can actually cause sores underneath. Groomers see it constantly. Now, let's talk money. A single grooming session for a medium-sized doodle runs somewhere between $75 and $120, depending on where you live. Some places charge more. And that's every 6 to 8 weeks, year-round. So you're looking at, somewhere around $800 to over $1,000 a year? Just on grooming. That's not food, that's not vet bills, that's just keeping the coat from becoming a medical issue. And the kicker is, most people who buy a doodle were told the coat was low maintenance. Oh, they don't shed. Right, they don't shed because the dead hair gets trapped in the coat instead of falling out, which is exactly why it mats. You traded shedding for a grooming bill that rivals your car payment. Okay, not quite, but you get my point. Some owners try to handle it themselves, and look, respect. But doodle coats are genuinely difficult. The texture varies wildly, even within the same litter. You can get wavy, curly, flat, wiry, sometimes on the same dog. It's unpredictable. And that unpredictability is sort of the whole problem with doodles in a nutshell, actually. So there's this idea that gets thrown around a lot, hybrid vigor.
the concept that mixing two breeds gives you a healthier dog. And kinda, in theory, if you're crossing two genuinely unrelated, health-tested lines, yeah, you can reduce the odds of certain breed-specific conditions. That's real genetics. That part checks out.
But here's where it falls apart with Doodles. Nobody's crossing health-tested champion poodles with health-tested champion retrievers. Most Doodle breeders aren't testing for anything. They're just putting two dogs together because the puppies sell for $3,000 a pop. And when you do that, you're not getting hybrid vigor. You're getting a genetic grab bag. You're pulling from two separate pools of breed-specific health problems and rolling the dice on which ones show up. Poodles are prone to Addison's disease, sebaceous adenitis, bloat, epilepsy. Golden retrievers? Cancer at terrifyingly high rates, plus hip dysplasia, heart conditions, skin issues. Labs bring hip and elbow dysplasia, exercise-induced collapse, eye problems. So when you cross them without screening, you're not canceling out the bad stuff. You might be stacking it. And the really frustrating part? There's no data, no registry, no breed club tracking health outcomes across Doodle lines. With a purebred, you can at least look at the pedigree, check OFA scores, trace the lineage. With a Doodle from some website with a cute logo and a waitlist, you're flying blind. You have no idea what's lurking in that dog's genetics. None. The breeder probably doesn't either. And I think that's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. It's not that Doodles are guaranteed to be unhealthy. It's that nobody's even keeping track. You ever see a Doodle at the park just vibrating? Like, not shaking from cold, vibrating. Tail going, mouth open, looks like the happiest dog on earth. And yeah, maybe that dog is absolutely losing its mind internally and nobody can tell. Because it looks like a teddy bear. Door frames chewed to splinters, drywall ripped open, neighbors calling because the howling started 45 seconds after the front door closed and hasn't stopped in 3 hours. And the thing is, a lot of owners don't even recognize it as anxiety. They think the dog's just badly behaved or bored. So they buy a puzzle toy, maybe a Kong, and then come home to find the Kong untouched and the couch gutted. Because the dog wasn't bored, the dog was panicking. Poodles are already prone to anxiety. That's well documented. They're wicked smart, emotionally tuned in, and they bond hard. Golden retrievers, same deal, honestly. Velcro temperament, need to be near you. So you cross those two and you get a dog that's intelligent enough to know you left, sensitive enough to feel abandoned, and energetic enough to express that feeling by eating your baseboards. The smiling thing makes it worse, I think, because people see the goofy face and assume everything's fine. Meanwhile, the dog is running cortisol levels that concern a cardiologist. Nobody talks about this before the purchase. The breeder sure doesn't. They show you a photo of a puppy in a bandana, and you're done. Sold. "5 years ago, you basically couldn't find a Doodle in a shelter. Now, call any rescue in a major metro area. Ask what they've got. I guarantee, at least a third of the intake is some kind of poodle mix. Goldendoodles, Labradoodles, Brunette Doodles, Sheepadoodles, whatever doodles. They're everywhere. And the reason is painfully simple. People bought the marketing, the hypoallergenic myth, the easy family dog pitch, the Instagram aesthetic. They paid $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $4,000 for a puppy that looked like a cloud, and then 6 months later, they had a 70-pound animal ricocheting off the walls with matted fur and a vet bill that could fund a small vacation. So they surrender it. Or, and this one's darker, they just dump it, tie it to a post outside a shelter at 2 a.m, drive away. Rescue organizations are genuinely overwhelmed. There are Doodle-specific rescues now. That's how bad it's gotten. Entire organizations built around absorbing the fallout of a breeding trend. And most of these dogs aren't puppies anymore. They're 1, 2, 3 years old, adolescents, which means they've already developed behavioral issues from inconsistent training or no training, and now they're harder to place. The breeders don't take them back. That lifetime return policy on the contract, good luck enforcing it. Half these operations are backyard setups, churning out litters for cash. They're not running a customer service department. I don't know, it gets to me. Because the dogs didn't do anything wrong. They did exactly what their genetics told them to do. The humans just didn't bother reading the fine print. There's a version of this that's cute. Dog follows you from the kitchen to the living room, sits outside the bathroom door, sleeps with its head on your foot. Adorable. People post videos of it. My Doodle is so obsessed with me. #Velcro Dog. Thousands of likes. And then there's the version where you can't leave the room, not the house, the room, without triggering a meltdown, where the dog physically cannot settle unless it's touching you, where you haven't gone to the bathroom alone in 2 years, and it stopped being funny about 18 months ago. That's not bonding, that's codependency, and Doodles are absolutely wired for it. The Poodle side wants to work with you, watch you, read you. The Retriever side wants to be near you, always, no exceptions. Combine those drives, and you get a dog that doesn't just prefer your company, it literally cannot function without it. The dog doesn't have an off switch, and the cruel part, people reinforce it constantly without knowing. Oh, he's so sweet, he follows me everywhere. Yeah, he does, because he's in a low-grade panic that you might disappear, and his brain can't process that possibility. Training helps, structure helps, but you're fighting genetics and early conditioning simultaneously, and most owners, I'm sorry, but most owners of Doodles specifically didn't sign up for that level of behavioral work. They signed up for a cute dog that doesn't shed, and now they've got a stage 5 clinger with a cortisol problem. You know what nobody tells you about Doodles? They're smart, like annoyingly smart. And I don't mean that in the cute way where they learn to shake hands in 10 minutes. I mean they're the kind of smart that becomes your problem. Because here's what happens when you cross a Poodle, which is the second most intelligent breed on the planet, with a Retriever that was literally bred to work all day. You get a dog whose brain is always on. Always. There's no idle mode. There's no chill Sunday afternoon where the dog just lies there and exists. That dog is thinking, planning, figuring out the baby gate again. And people mistake this for bad behavior. Oh, he's destructive. Oh, she won't stop barking. No, your dog is bored out of its mind. It's like putting a hyperactive kid in an empty room and then acting surprised when they start pulling the wallpaper off. What did you think was going to happen? The Poodle side wants a job. The Retriever side wants a job. And you gave it a backyard. Maybe a 20-minute walk if you're feeling generous. That's not enough. That's not even close to enough. I think a lot of Doodle owners get blindsided by this because the marketing, and yeah, I'm calling it marketing, sells them as these easygoing family dogs. Hypoallergenic, friendly, great with kids. All true, kinda, but nobody mentions that you're also getting a dog that needs genuine mental stimulation, or it will redecorate your house for you with its teeth. And that's a lot. For most people, that's a lot. Okay, this is the part that actually frustrates me. When you breed 2 purebreds together, a Poodle and a Golden, a Poodle and a Lab, whatever the combo is, you don't get a neat 50-50 split. That's not how genetics works, at all. You might get a puppy that's 80% Poodle in temperament and 20% Retriever. or the reverse, or some weird mashup nobody predicted. Two puppies from the same litter can act like completely different breeds. One's calm, one's wired. One sheds like crazy, one doesn't shed at all. It's a coin flip. Several coin flips, actually, happening at the molecular level. And you don't find out the results until the dog's already living in your house. And this is the thing that gets glossed over in every "Which Doodle is right for you" article on the internet. They talk about these dogs like they're a breed. They're not a breed. They're a cross. A first-generation cross, usually, which means maximum genetic variability. You are basically rolling dice on what kind of dog you're getting. With a purebred, say a standard poodle, you've got decades, sometimes centuries of selective breeding narrowing down the traits. You kinda know what you're signing up for. Not perfectly, but roughly. With a doodle, you're guessing. The breeder's guessing. Everyone's guessing and pretending they're not. I don't know, maybe that's fine for some people. Surprises can be fun. But when the surprise is, this dog has the energy of a border collie and the stubbornness of a terrier, that stops being fun pretty quick. That coat everyone loves, the curly teddy bear Instagram perfect coat, it's a nightmare to maintain. And I don't mean inconvenient, I mean genuinely medically problematic if you don't stay on top of it. Doodle coats mat, fast. We're talking days, not weeks. And mats aren't just ugly, they pull on the skin, trap moisture, create these little pockets where bacteria and yeast just throw a party. You don't notice because the coat looks fluffy on top, but underneath it's a mess. A painful mess, actually. Dogs with severe matting are in real discomfort, and most of them just suffer quietly because, well, they're dogs. They don't complain the way you'd want them to. Then there's the ears. Poodles already have ear issues. Those long, floppy, hair-filled ear canals are basically designed to trap moisture. You cross that with a retriever who loves water, and you've got a dog that's practically engineered for chronic ear infections. I've read estimates, and this varies a lot depending on the source, but something like 60 to 70% of doodle owners deal with recurring ear problems. That's not a small number. And skin allergies. God, the skin allergies. Itching, hot spots, food sensitivities. Doodles show up on allergy lists way more than their parent breeds do individually. Some of that's hybrid vigor working in reverse. Basically, you're not always getting the best of both breeds. Sometimes you're getting the vulnerabilities of both, stacked on top of each other. The vet bills add up. They add up fast, and nobody mentions that part in the cute puppy photos. Half poodle, half golden, wait, which half? That's the thing nobody wants to sit with. A doodle isn't a breed, it's a coin flip, every single time. And look, I get the appeal. You see one at a park, it's got that teddy bear face, the curly coat, it looks like a stuffed animal came to life. Adorable, no argument. But here's what breeders don't tell you, and honestly, I think a lot of them don't even understand it themselves. When you cross two breeds, you don't get a clean 50-50 split. You get chaos. Genetic chaos. One puppy in a litter might act like a poodle. Sharp, a little neurotic, picks up on everything. The one next to it, golden through and through. Chill, goofy, wants to be touched by every stranger on earth. Same litter, same parents, completely different dogs. So you bring one home and you're like, okay, who are you? What do you need? And the dog doesn't know either. It's wired for two completely different temperaments, and whichever one shows up on a given Tuesday is kind of random. I think this is the part that messes people up the most. You can't Google how to raise a doodle and get a real answer, because there is no standard doodle. There's no baseline. With a lab, you know what you're getting, more or less. With a poodle, same thing. But a doodle is a question mark wrapped in hypoallergenic marketing. And the dog feels that confusion too. You can see it. They're trying to figure themselves out just as much as you are. Which, Honestly, that's kind of heartbreaking if you think about it.
Somebody decided that the ideal dog has a poodle's coat and a golden's face. That was the pitch. That was the whole thing. Nobody stopped to ask what happens to the body underneath. And what happens is a lot. Hip dysplasia shows up constantly, like way more than people expect.
You'd think mixing two breeds would give you some kind of hybrid vigor, right? That's the line breeders love. Crossbreeds are healthier. Except not when you're crossing two breeds that already share a bunch of the same genetic problems. Goldens are prone to hip issues. Poodles, especially standards, same thing. So you're not canceling anything out, you're doubling down. Then there's the skin. God, the skin stuff.
Doodles get hot spots, allergic reactions, chronic ear infections, partly because that coat everyone loves, it traps moisture, it mats, it holds on to everything. And if you're not brushing it out every couple of days, and I mean really getting in there, not just running a brush over the top, you get mats tight enough to pull on the skin underneath, which hurts a lot. But the one that really gets me is the eye stuff. Progressive retinal atrophy. Both parent breeds carry it. And because a lot of doodle breeders aren't doing proper genetic testing, because, why would you? You're already charging $4,000 for a mixed breed. It slips through. The dog slowly goes blind, sometimes by 5 or 6 years old. All because somebody wanted a dog that looked cute in an Instagram photo. That sits with me wrong. People buy Doodles thinking they're getting a couch dog, a big fluffy pillow that fetches sometimes. I have no idea where this came from, but it's everywhere. It's dead wrong. Poodles were working dogs, retrievers, water dogs. They were bred to do a job, all day, in cold water, and then do it again tomorrow. Goldens, same deal, hunting dogs. Field dogs, bred for stamina and drive. So when you mash those two things together, you don't get a calm house pet. You get an athlete with no sport. And that's where it goes sideways. A doodle with nothing to do will find something to do. Chewing through drywall, shredding couch cushions. Barking at nothing, really. Just barking because their brain is on fire and nobody gave it a task. I think people mistake this for bad behavior. It's not. It's boredom. Pure, unfiltered, climbing the walls boredom. The numbers kind of back this up too. Doodles need somewhere around 60 to 90 minutes of real exercise a day. Not a stroll around the block. Actual, heart rate up, tongue out work. And that's the minimum. A lot of them need more. Mental stimulation on top of that. Puzzle toys, training games, something that makes them think. But nobody tells you this at the breeder. They show you the puppy, you melt, you hand over the check, and 6 months later you've got a 40-pound wrecking ball doing laps around your apartment at 11 p.m., wondering why you're tired. It's not the dog's fault. It never is. They're just built different than the brochure promised. Nobody tells you this before you buy one. Nobody. The breeder doesn't mention it. The Instagram page definitely doesn't mention it. But here it is. A doodle's coat is like actively working against the dog. See, when you cross a poodle with a golden retriever, or a Labrador or a Bernese or whatever they're mixing this week, you're combining two completely different coat types. Poodles have hair that curls and grows continuously. Goldens have fur that sheds. And when those two genetics collide, you get this weird in-between coat that doesn't shed the way it should, but also doesn't grow cleanly the way a poodle's does. It just sort of tangles constantly from the inside out. And I don't mean like, oh, you gotta brush your dog more. I mean mats forming against the skin within 48 hours of a full grooming session. Tight, painful mats that pull every time the dog moves. Behind the ears,
under the legs, around the collar line, places you can't even see unless you're actively parting the fur and checking. Groomers talk about this all the time, by the way. Ask any groomer what breed they dread most on the schedule. It's Doodles. Not because the dogs are bad, they're usually sweet, but because the coats are a nightmare. You're looking at 2, sometimes 3 hours of dematting on a dog that's in pain, squirming, sometimes snapping. And the owners show up and go, "Oh, he's usually fine." He's not fine. He's been matted for weeks. You just didn't know what to look for. Which, honestly, that's not even the owner's fault. That's a breeding problem disguised as a grooming problem. The whole pitch for Doodles was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but barely, hypoallergenic, doesn't shed, great temperament, best of both breeds. That was the sell. That's still the sell, actually. Go look at any Doodle breeder's website right now, and you'll see some version of that exact sentence, and almost none of it holds up. Hypoallergenic? There's no such thing as a hypoallergenic dog. That's not a real category. Allergies are triggered by proteins in saliva and dander, not by fur length or curl pattern. Some individual dogs produce less of those proteins, sure. But that's dog-to-dog variation, not breed-to-breed. You can't breed for it reliably. You definitely can't promise it on a sales page. Doesn't shed? Some do, some don't. It's a genetic coin flip. First-generation crosses especially, you have zero idea what that coat's gonna do until the adult coat grows in around 8-9 months. By then, you're bonded, you're committed, and you're spending $120 every 6 weeks at the groomer. Best of both breeds? That's not how genetics works. You don't get to pick the good traits from column A and the good traits from column B. You get a random shuffle. Sometimes you get a calm, biddable dog with a manageable coat. Sometimes you get a high-drive, neurotic dog with a mat factory on its back and the stubbornness of a poodle who's decided it's smarter than you, which, honestly, it probably is. The problem isn't that Doodles are bad dogs. They're not. The problem is they were sold on a fantasy that genetics was never going to deliver consistently. Here's what nobody budgets for. The purchase price, which, by the way, is insane. We're talking $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $4,000 for a dog with no breed standard and no health testing guarantees. That's just the door fee. After that, it's grooming every 6 to 8 weeks, professional grooming, not the $15 nail trim at PetSmart. A full groom on a Doodle runs $80 to $150 depending on where you live and how matted the dog is. Do the math on that annually. You're somewhere around $1,000 a year just to keep the coat from becoming a welfare issue. Then there's the vet bills. Doodles aren't healthier than their parent breeds. That was another part of the sales pitch, hybrid vigor. And look, hybrid vigor is a real thing in genetics, but it applies to genuinely diverse gene pools, not to 2 purebred dogs from the same kennel club lineage being crossed once. A lot of Doodles inherit hip dysplasia from the retriever side, Addison's disease from the poodle side, eye problems from kind of both sides, actually. And because there's no breed club, no registry, no standardized health testing protocol, you're basically trusting whatever the breeder tells you. Some breeders are great, responsible, transparent. A lot of them are not. A lot of them are just capitalizing on demand. So you add it up. The grooming, the vet visits, the behavioral training, because nobody warned you a poodle cross might need serious mental stimulation or it'll eat your couch. You're looking at a dog that costs more to maintain than most purebreds. For a dog that, and I say this with genuine sympathy, was never designed. It was marketed. A golden retriever from a reputable breeder, you're paying maybe $1,500. A Goldendoodle from some guy with a website he made on Squarespace last Tuesday, $3,000, $4,000. I've seen $5,000.
And here's what kills me. The people charging the most are doing the least. No health testing, no OFA certifications, no temperament screening.
Nothing. They've got 2 dogs, a backyard, and an Instagram page with a wait list. That's the whole operation. Because Doodles aren't recognized by any major kennel club, there's no breed standard, no oversight, no governing body going, hey, maybe don't breed a mini poodle with a Bernese mountain dog and charge $4,000 for whatever comes out. Nobody's watching. Nobody's checking. And when nobody's checking, you can guess what happens. The margins are insane. Think about it. You buy a poodle, you buy a golden, you let nature do its thing, and suddenly you've got 8 puppies worth $32,000. No training required, no certification, no license in most states. You just need a cute puppy photo and a Facebook page that says family raised somewhere in the bio. And the buyers, I'm not blaming them, honestly. They don't know what to look for. They see hypoallergenic and good with kids, and a price tag that weirdly makes them trust it more. Like it costs this much, so it must be legit, which is backwards, completely backwards. The price isn't quality control. The price is just what the market will bear. And right now, the market will bear a lot. Shelters are drowning in them. And I don't mean like, oh, there's a couple more Doodles than usual. I mean, Doodle surrenders have, depending on which rescue you talk to, doubled or tripled in the last few years. Some shelters are saying they're now the most commonly surrendered mixed breed. That's kind of staggering when you think about it. The timeline's almost always the same. Somebody buys a Goldendoodle puppy because it's cute and fluffy and supposedly doesn't shed. Puppy comes home. Puppy is a maniac. Puppy chews through drywall, eats a couch cushion, and has the energy of a border collie on espresso. Because, surprise, it's half retriever and half poodle, 2 of the most high-drive breeds on the planet. Nobody mentioned that part. 6 months in, the puppy's 60 pounds and unmanageable. A year in, the owner's exhausted, the house is destroyed, and the dog hasn't been walked in a week because it pulls like a freight train. 18 months, give or take, and the dog's on Craigslist, or at the shelter, or tied to a fence outside one. And the thing that really gets me is these dogs aren't bad dogs. They're smart, they're athletic, they're bred from working lines on both sides. They need a job, they need stimulation, they need someone who understands that a doodle isn't a stuffed animal that breathes. It's a working dog in a teddy bear costume. But nobody told the buyer that. The breeder sure didn't. The Instagram page with the puppy photos definitely didn't. So the dog pays for it, every time. So here's where I land after all of this. And I want to be careful, because it'd be easy to walk away from 20 sections like these hating the dog. Don't. The dog didn't do anything. The dog is the one casualty in this whole story who never had a vote. That's the part that gets me, honestly. Every single problem we talked about, the matting, the anxiety, the skin stuff, the brain that won't shut off, the breeders cranking out litters in a barn somewhere, none of it is the dog's fault. The Doodle didn't ask to be the answer to a question nobody should have been asking. Which was basically, can I get a poodle's coat without the poodle being a poodle, and a lab's chill without the lab's shedding, and pay a backyard guy $2,000 for the privilege? The dog just shows up, born into a body that's pulling in 2 directions, and then handed to somebody who saw a fluffy puppy on Instagram and figured how hard can it be? Pretty hard, turns out. We covered that. And look, I'm not telling you don't get one. I genuinely am not. There are great Doodles. There are people who do it right, who groom religiously, who train the energy out, who got lucky on the genetic dice roll. I've heard from them. They're real. The trick, if there is one, is going in with your eyes open instead of your heart melting. Know what the coat costs. Know what the brain needs. Know that hypoallergenic was a marketing word before it was anything else. Because the dumping epidemic, the shelters drowning, all of it, That doesn't happen because Doodles are bad dogs. It happens because people bought a fantasy and got a real animal. And the gap between those two things, that's where the suffering lives.
So, if you take one thing from all this, just one, it's that the dog deserves better than being a trend. They didn't sign up to be a status symbol with a haircut. They're just dogs. Tangled up, anxious, brilliant, exhausting dogs. And they're stuck with whatever we decide to be. So be a good parent and take care of your Doodle religiously.